Hey everybody, welcome back to Freedom to Run, where we're going to share stories of some of the runners that we work with and just kind of try to inspire the local running community. Today we are here with Ian, who started working with Freedom Running Club in July with that one clear goal of to generally get faster in all of his races, something that he's been a distance runner for a good bit here. But the other thing is Ian is a busy father, works a full-time job, and still had these big goals. And since joining us, he's dropped his 5K by like 3 minutes, his 10K by a couple of minutes, and just ran a big half marathon PR, dropping from, was it 156 Ian before you started working with us, or 155?
155.
155 down to 148, almost 147, 4 seconds away from that in the Gasparilla Distance Classic here in that time frame. And what's even more special is Ian, his two daughters also work with us, so we may talk about that a little bit, but really want to focus on Ian's journey here specifically. Your story about rebuilding your fitness, restoring confidence, it really proves that it doesn't matter what your situation is if you've got these big goals. So kind of want to take you back to last July. I remember you scheduled a meeting with us and we kind of sat down and talked to us. What kind of made you think that it was time for you to change your training approach?
Well, I was getting injured a lot, right? I had a lot of injuries. That was a big thing of mine, and I kind of was just running, going at it, without a whim. I was just running, and not really having like a true dedicated plan. And I've run for a while, but because I was in the military, but I was geared more towards like running for our fitness tests and not necessarily 5Ks or halves or anything like that. So I always ran, just kind of just ran for that. So I knew that there was a certain way to run, and I just wasn't running it. And I really wasn't seeing too much of improvement. I was just running the same type of stuff. And I had a goal that I wanted to beat my half that I had originally done back in 2021. And I said, okay, well, I need to get serious with it instead of just going out there just to run. Because again, I was dealing with so many different injuries, and I was just done with that. And I'm not getting any younger, so I knew that I had to do something now.
And remind us, Ian, we're mid 40s, correct?
Yeah, I'm 43, just turned 43.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I know we haven't really talked about it. Every once in a while we talk about your back, but kind of take us through kind of what was the not just the frustration in terms of, you were putting in this hard work, but also just kind of that pain of, the injuries you were dealing with, and how that affected your confidence and everything.
Sure. So I do have back issues. Like actually, I've got neck, upper back, lower back. I've got degenerative disc disease. I go from sitting to standing to sitting to standing. I have numbness and tingling and all kinds of stuff, going on. But surprisingly, getting out there and moving is what kind of helps me. But my lower back, there was a point where once I injured it after my first half marathon, I didn't think I was going to be able to run again. I never thought I was going to be able to run again just because so much pain that I was dealing with, and it went through physical therapy multiple different times, things like that, and it finally started getting better. But yeah, and every now and again it'll still go out, so I still have that issue going on. But the running hasn't aggravated it, right? So even though I'm putting in miles, I'm good. You know what I mean? I'm putting in a lot of miles. It's not injuring me or anything like that. If I injure myself, it has nothing to do with running. Let's put it that way.
Or if it is, it's maybe falling. I know you took a tumble on one of those runs
Yeah,
recently,
I did. Yeah,
but
so I did, and that surprisingly didn't hurt my back either. I was doing some intervals and out on the trail, and I ended up taking a spill, and yeah.
Now, you talked about how running it kind of looked like you were just kind of go out there and running, not really a set plan or anything, but also for you as a guy with a full-time job here, you've got a family and everything. What were some of the concerns that you maybe had committing to structured training, not only with the physical, but, the time demands and anything? Did you have any sort of like, worries about that?
Yeah, I did. As far as timing, for sure. Like, how am I really going to be able to commit to this? And I knew I needed the training plan, but I didn't really know exactly what all that entailed and how many miles that I would actually be putting in. I didn't think that I would be running as many miles as I am, but that's not a bad thing, right? I just didn't know if I would be able to put in as many miles as that I'm putting in, especially with time and things like that. And because I am busy, right? My kids are in sports, they do all kinds of stuff. And, how am I going to hammer out, this time and set it aside for me to do what I need to do in order to be successful at it? But it hasn't been an issue. It hasn't been an issue at all. But that was definitely a concern for me. But really, it hasn't been as bad as I thought. Really, for the half, the only things are those 2 hour runs, and I only have like one of those, a week. So.
Right. And so for you especially, and obviously we worked around your schedule. Ian has kind of an interesting schedule where, it's easier for you to do your long run during the week, but we always do personalize that obviously for everybody's situation. But what is the longest run that you've done with us so far and everything? I don't think we've necessarily recapped that.
I think the longest we've done so far is 2 hours and 15 minutes.
But in
And
terms of like distance too, yeah.
yeah. So right at like 13 miles.
Gotcha. Perfect.
But yeah.
Awesome. So, you talked about this a little bit. You've got all these goals and everything. As it worked for you, I know we started working with your two daughters as well. What kind of led you to believe that this was something that you didn't just want to do yourself, but you thought could impact, your one daughter's in high school, your other daughter is in middle school. Why did you want to what made you think that it was right for everybody in this case? Because very different things you're training for.
Oh, absolutely. So I saw what was happening with me in just a short amount of time. And I said, well, wait a second, because both my girls have been running, for quite some time. They've also dealt with injuries, right? I knew that if I could get my oldest daughter in first, right, that I would start to see, things pan out for her as well, which they have. She wasn't able to run for the last two cross country seasons due to injuries. So she was, really down on herself with everything because she did start out pretty successful as a freshman, and now she's a junior. But I knew that if I was able to get her involved, so she could see the benefits that would come along with it, then possibly my youngest daughter would see that and want to jump on board as well. And she did. She saw what was happening with her sister. She saw what was happening with me. And then, of course, she wanted to join as well. And it's just been great for all of us. So.
Awesome. So shifting back for you and everything, we talked about that mental side of it, the confidence and everything. Was there a point where you were like, I'm really feeling this? I know we had some success in the 5K and the 10K before the half, but was there a point where you're like, yeah, like I feel confident in myself?
Sure. Yeah. So just seeing like over time, just especially on my easy runs, just seeing my heart rate just drop and just keep on dropping and knowing like, okay, this is getting easier, right? These easy runs are getting easier. They're getting longer, but my output isn't as high. I'm able to do it with less energy and stuff like that. So just seeing that alone, which I never really saw that before, whenever I was training by myself, and just seeing that and just seeing how my heart rate has lowered, that was really clicking for me. And so I knew that I was on the right track for sure. And I knew that I had some time. And actually going towards the end of the race, I knew that my goal of beating my last one was way out of the park. So really happy with that.
Awesome. So, you've taken your 5K down from when you started 26s to 23s with working with us, the 10K from 50 minutes down to 48. And I think you were even sick that day, if I remember correctly, and still had that 2-minute drop. And then, like I said, 7 minutes here from 155 down to 148. Which one are you most proud of at this point and why?
Right now, just the half, because that was ultimately, my main goal. But because, my fitness has improved so much, across the board. I'm proud of all of them. I am, but probably my half, just because I didn't think that I would be able to, to crush that time as much as I did. I was just hoping to be like, hey, maybe I get like 152, or something like that, and being able to come in almost 147. I'm pretty happy with that.
And that was on your birthday, if I remember correctly, right?
Yep, it was on my birthday.
Very good. So, and for that, when you're doing it, especially considering you had done it in 2021. There was kind of a gap between there. You felt like you were too injured to be able to do it.
Mhm.
For to have that experience on your birthday, to drop that big PR and everything, to it's a really nice feeling too when you're a couple miles out and you're like, oh, I'm gonna crush this thing. Just
Yeah.
what did that feel like for you?
So really, I was nervous that morning because if anyone ran Gasparilla this year, they knew that wow, this is the hottest day
Yeah.
of in the past however many months, and it was 6 a.m., 70 degrees, 100% humidity. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be getting a PR today, and and I was actually pretty nervous about it. And then once things started going and I got settled in and came off the bridge, 5 miles in, I'm like, okay, this is probably going to be a reality, and it's gonna be good. So,
Awesome.
but it was
Yeah,
it was an
yeah.
amazing feeling for sure.
Now you talked a little bit about the mileage and everything. That the focus is shifting now. We want to go. You had this big PR in the half, and your next goal is to try to drop that time as much as we can in the 5K and everything. Talk a little bit about what excites you kind of for this next phase. Maybe not just the fact that the long runs are a little bit shorter and everything, but what excites you about now? You've had this big PR. Let's shift it to something else and get another PR.
Yeah, so definitely my next goal is to get sub 20-minute 5K, right? I think that's a realistic goal. And so I am excited to change it up a little bit. That way I don't have to put as many, long miles in right now, just a little bit, especially going into summer. So I am kind of excited about that. But just switching it up and being able to maintain that fitness, but increase my fitness really, even though I'm having such a shorter distance to run. But I'm pretty excited about that, especially because I want to make sure that my kids really don't beat me.
Very good. Now, kind of last thing here I want to ask, if your story I don't think is uncommon. No, you've got, people in your age group there who still have really big goals, have really big responsibilities though with family, job and everything. Maybe they've seen, a lack of progress. I guess what would you say to somebody in that general situation who maybe thinks that their fastest times are behind them, and everything?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that I would be able to perform the way that I am, now. I've always been athletic and things like that, but especially really honing in on this type of training, in my 40s, I didn't think that I would be able to perform as the way that I am, and so it's exciting, especially at this age, right? Over 40, you're supposed to be over the hill, and here I am, running the best that I've ever ran in my entire life. And so anyone that is, thinking about that, get off the fence and just do it, because you might surprise yourself, especially if you're, doing what I was doing and just running to run and kind of just going at the at a whim. The training is there and it can make you better, and it takes all the thought out of it. I love that too because I'm so busy. I just got to look at my phone and say, okay, I'm doing this today or I'm doing that tomorrow. And I don't even have to think about it. And I know that ultimately I'm going to hit that goal or at least get really close to it, if I don't. So, but I think with the right determination, that, anything's possible for sure.
And we were really confident. We said I told you this months leading up to it. Like I want to sit down and have a conversation with you after Gasparilla, just knowing full well of everything you've done. And I think that really does speak to the fact that, age is a number. It's something we need to take into account and everything, but it doesn't mean that you can't continue PRing and everything, especially as a dad, as a busy professional, as a husband, all those different things with these different responsibilities. You can still carve out that time and set these PRs and everything. It'll be really interesting too to see you racing your daughters in these 5Ks here in the near future, right?
Absolutely.
So I mean, I really think, Ian, you speak to what we always try to say with people at Freedom Running Club. We want to empower runners to safely achieve their goals with those not just proven methods, but customized methods, right? Like we couldn't have you go and do a long run the day that one of your daughters has, a soccer tournament or something like that. So customizing it, and we've really enjoyed you allowing us to not only help your journey, but your two daughters and everything. And we really appreciate it, not only what we've done, but what we're going to accomplish here, with all of your guys' goals.
Absolutely. And I appreciate it. We all do. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, take care, Ian. Thank you.
Thank you.